Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about this week in Mythic Plus. So first off, this video came as a suggestion from one of the people in my Discord server. Their name is Nolam. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, so thank you for the suggestion, Nolam. If you would like to suggest any videos, you have ideas or anything that you'd like to see me do, or if you would just like to talk to other Shadow Priests about Shadow Priest stuff, feel free to join my Discord server. There is a link in the description below. Okay, so let's get right into it. First things first, these are the affixes this week. We got Fortified, Bursting, and Storming. And I don't know if there's a single other week that has better affixes than this for pushing. So, if you're looking for a week that you can go do those keys that have been too hard for you on other weeks, this week is the time. I realize that this video is coming out probably on Friday, so we're already a little into the week, but I think a lot of people play on the weekends. I think that's when most of WoW's traffic starts playing, so hopefully you get this video in time for it to help you at least a little this week. So as you can see, people in my guild are doing 28s, 27s, 25, right? So those are keys that could not have been done on other push weeks, or I mean other affix combos, right? So this week is definitely a push week. I mean, go out there and blast like your highest keys you've ever done for sure. So what are some tips that we as Shadow Priests can use to do well this week? Well, first off, because it's fortified, this is, actually I changed that one. This is the talent setup that I would play in pretty much every dungeon. So you're going to have Death and Madness for resets. You're going to play Death and Madness in pretty much every single key on every single week. And then I would say Body and Soul for sure. Searing Nightmare definitely on pretty much any fortified key. Any key that you're going to be pulling more than 3 or 4 mobs at a time, Searing Nightmare is really, really good. And your single target drops by like 0.5% or something when you play Searing Nightmare instead of Twist of Fate. So it's like you're losing very, very little single target damage and you're gaining a lot of AoE damage. So I would definitely suggest Searing Nightmare this week. This row doesn't matter too much, although my go-to is Psychic Horror. It's very situationally helpful. Pretty much never play Mind Bomb. And Last Word is good if you're in like a key with like a Warlock, a Mage, and a Shadow Priest or something where kicks are going to be kind of hard. You might want to play Last Word just so that you have more silences over the course of the key, but I would suggest Psychic Horror. Then Shadow Crash, definitely, because you're not going to be getting very many Vampiric Touches out, so you're not going to be doing very many Shadowy Apparitions. And because you're not getting very many Vampiric Touches out, you aren't going to play Psychic Link either. You're looking for big AoE damage, because this week you're going to be pulling, if you're playing the way that I would suggest you play, your tank should be pulling multiple packs together. There's really very little downside to doing that. You should have like many pulls that are 10 plus targets, and Shadow Crash and Searing Nightmare are just by far the best choices in those kinds of pulls. And then I choose Mindbender here because I would suggest that you play Shadowflame Prism as your legendary this week instead of Pallid Command. Pallid Command is really a single target ability, so single target damage isn't really going to matter this week because bosses aren't going to be buffed, and trash is where you're looking to do your most damage. So I would play Mindbender for Shadowflame Prism. And then I would also play Ancient Madness so that as soon as you get into Void Form, you get a ton of crit. Because you're going to be able to, when you first pull a pack, you're going to be able to pop Void Form, throw out a Shadow Crash immediately, and start spamming Searing Nightmares. And you'll go from 0 DPS up to like, 30,000, 40,000, something like that instantly. Just because your Shadow Crash is going to crit for a ton of damage. And all of your Searing Nightmares, well, not all of them, but a lot of your Searing Nightmares will start critting at the beginning of your Void Form with Ancient Madness. We could take a look at Heimer and how I would play this. This is what I would suggest. We're at 72 renown this week, so you've got these 4 empowered conduits. The big thing I would say is I would say make sure you have haunting apparitions in this potency slot right here so that it's getting buffed. And then I would use Rabid Shadows as the other one. You could swap these with each other because you're not going to get a ton of shadowy apparition damage, and your Mindbender is going to be doing a lot of damage. So you could swap those, but not a huge deal. And then these are the other ones that I would play. The key thing to know about this is you want to take Marrowed Gemstone. This trait is really, really good. After you land 10 critical strikes, you gain 18% increased chance to critical strike for 10 seconds. So this will extend your high crit window. When you first pop Void Form, you're going to get a bunch of crit from Ancient Madness, right? And you're going to crit with your Shadow Crash, hopefully, and then you're going to crit a couple times with Searing Nightmares. And then as your crit chance is going down from Ancient Madness, this will proc and bring it back up for an additional 10 seconds, right? So that's why Marrowed Gemstone is so good for us. And then, yeah, this is what I would run as far as Soulbinds and Conduits go. Actually, let me go look real quick and see. Do we have... Yeah, Clear Mind is the other big thing. You want Clear Mind this week specifically because Bursting is a magic debuff that we can dispel, right? So you're going to be wanting to cast Mass Dispel pretty often in keys this week. And if you don't run Clear Mind, it'll cost more mana, so you won't be able to do as many. So run Clear Mind for sure. That's the other one I would suggest. And then just some quick tips for as you're doing dungeons. Oh, I will mention, in Theater of Pain specifically, I would probably swap Searing Nightmare for Misery. But that's the only change I would make. I would leave everything else the exact same. Just because in Theater of Pain, there are several pulls where you're not going to have... There's like 3 or 4 targets and they jump around and such. And so you're probably going to get better value out of Misery. But if you are doing Theater of Pain and your tank is pulling multiple packs on top of each other, then Searing Nightmare can still be a good choice in that dungeon. It's just that in like most pug scenarios or with not super push routes where people are pulling big packs all the time, like 3 packs or 4 packs even, all into one pull. When you don't have that going on, Misery is probably better in Theater of Pain than Searing Nightmare. But you can, if your push group does plan around it, you can get some really good value out of Searing Nightmare in Theater of Pain. I just thought I'd mention that because that's the only dungeon where I would change anything on this list, right? Even Spires of Ascension, I'd play Searing Nightmare over Misery this week for sure. And then all the other dungeons, there are enough pulls where Searing Nightmare gets way more value than Misery, so I would play it for sure. So that's that. And then the tips that I wanted to talk about real quick. Like I said before, Bursting is a magic debuff, so you can Mass Dispel it off your friends, right? What I would suggest is don't try to Mass Dispel this. I would say try to Mass Dispel this at good times. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're doing a 10 pack or something, a pull that has 10 mobs in it, and you kill 4 of them, and so the other 6 are pretty low, but 4 of them have died, and the 4 stacks of Bursting are ticking, and it's hurting pretty bad, right? Usually, most healers can heal through 4 stacks of Bursting, so I wouldn't Mass Dispel at 4 stacks. And in this situation, it's possible that you're going to roll to 5 stacks or 6 stacks or something, in which case it's going to be even worse on your healer, and you're going to want to Mass Dispel more, right? I would say try to hold your Mass Dispel and let your healer use their healing cooldowns, right? And get you through those big Bursting moments that they can get you through, and then use your Mass Dispel to fill in for when they are having a hard time, right? So don't instantly, like if you're doing a big pull and you see that you get to 7 stacks all of a sudden, right? But then your Resto Druid pops Tranquility, I would not Mass Dispel in that situation. You need to keep an eye on your healer and see what they're doing, because if you hit 7 stacks and your Resto Druid pops Tranquility, and then you send out a Mass Dispel, your Resto Druid is just standing there, everyone's at full health, and they're like, why did I just use my cooldown, right? because you want to get good uses of everybody's cooldowns. So you can, if you're in a push group and you're in like voice chat with your healer, you can talk about this and say, hey, my mass dispel is ready, when do you want it? And they can say, okay, I'm going to use wings on this pull, so we don't need your mass dispel when bursting hits. Or they can say, I'm really dry here, I don't have much to do. If you could send it halfway through the bursting stacks, that'd be helpful, right? So you maybe get to 6 stacks or whatever, send a mass dispel, and then you get back up to 4 stacks, and your healer can heal through those 4 just fine. That's the kind of thing I'd be looking to do with your mass dispel. Just communicate it. Also, the other thing to mention is, it's not just about healer CDs. If you have people in your group who can cleanse themselves, then maybe sending a mass dispel is not the best choice, right? Like maybe you've got a warlock who's playing an imp pet that can purge the bursting from them. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I know imps can purge things from warlocks, so I think they can purge it. If that's the case, then you want to make sure at least that you're not mass dispelling when people are using their defensive cooldowns or purging themselves or things like that. Like I said, you want to try and use mass dispel as a band-aid for when everything else is down, right? Because, like I said, healers will plan around it, DPS players will plan around it, tanks will plan around it, bursting, I mean. They'll be like, okay, here comes a really big pull, I need to make sure I've got my defensive dampen harm or whatever up for this, so that when I do hit high bursting, I can survive. And then the next pull, it's just the same amount of targets, right? So they're going to be taking a lot of bursting damage, and they're like, oh crap, now I don't have any defensives. That's where mass dispel comes in, right? So again, I'm really harping on this because I think this is a big thing that can separate a good Shadow Priest from a great Shadow Priest, and it can make the difference in whether you time your 22 sanguine depths or you fail your 20 sanguine depths, right? If you can line up everyone in the group, all of their cooldowns, right, so that you have stuff for every time you need stuff, you'll do way better than if you just YOLO it, send out a mass dispel whenever you feel like, and then you run into the situation where you get up to 8 stacks of bursting, your healer has no cooldowns, you don't have mass dispel, nobody has defensives, everybody dies, right? So that's my really big tip for this week. And then my other tip would just be try not to stand too close to melee. Storming is really not much of an issue for Shadow Priests specifically, because we can stand so far away, and we've got a lot of instant cast things that we can do to dodge storming while we're moving, that kind of thing. And then yeah, I mean that's basically all I've got to say about the affixes this week. Let's see, is there anything else I want to mention before we wrap up this video? No, I don't think so. I guess, let me just look real quick. Yeah, okay, no, I don't think so. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you found something useful. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments section down below. I do plan on doing more videos like this for future weeks. Hopefully I can try and get them out before the weekend comes around like this, but we'll just have to see. So if you liked the video, make sure you click the like button. If you really liked it, feel free to subscribe. Like I said before, check the description for a link to my Discord server, or find me on Twitch. I haven't been streaming very much recently, but I do plan on streaming more as we move forward. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!